Think of this. What if as you walk the streets, you saw written above everyone's heads how each one would die? That's crazy. If it was actually true that everybody knew how or when they'd die, do you think they'd fear death any less? In fact, most people are afraid of death because they think it's the end of everything. Do you realize that human beings are among the few creatures of Allah Almighty who will live continuously in different forms? You're given birth to in this world, you probably would live for 20, 30, 40, 60, 90, or maybe 100 years. And then you will die. And after that, you lose touch with time for a period that only Allah knows the duration of, perhaps 200, 300, or 1,000 years. For a believer, it's like getting up from a short nap. You're then resurrected and you live a very long, unending, everlasting life. So this means that death is not the end of everything. It's just a short period of time, like a speed hump between your creation and your everlasting hereafter. But most people are afraid of death for two reasons. There are people who would say, "Who will take care of my kids after my death? What will happen to them?" I'd say to them, you will eventually die and your children will die, grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren. But the good news is that you'd all meet up again after this short break and be together in the unending, everlasting bliss. Others would say, I'm afraid of death because I'm not ready to meet my Lord. Well, if you're not ready, why not get ready? What's stopping you? I know you've made some mistakes and fallen into sin sometimes, but that doesn't mean you give up. It's never too late to get back on track. If you're doing something wrong, start doing the right thing before the time comes. Don't be from those who sell all of this for a little of that. We're always afraid of death, but do you realize that if we do the right things, it will ultimately free us from the shackles of this world to the freedom of an unending life full of bliss and happiness, where we'd meet all our loved ones again with no worries, tribulations, challenges, ill feeling, enmity, warfare, or any negativity. What really matters is where you are after death. That's why Allah has given us the choice. We can choose to do good or bad. The path to the good is by doing three things. Firstly, by bearing witness that there is none worthy of worship besides He who created us in the first place, Allah. Secondly, by fulfilling the rights of others. All dues should be given to the rightful owners. Seek forgiveness from those you've wronged. Thirdly, by staying away from all forms of major sin and seeking forgiveness of Allah often, as taught by the Prophet, peace be upon him. Allah is the most forgiving, the most merciful. If you do these three things, then you have no reason to fear death. Always bear in mind that you're going back to He who is more loving and merciful than any mother towards her child. And remember, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, whoever looks forward to meeting Allah, Allah looks forward to meeting him too. Subhanallah.